Hi everybody and welcome to episode 44. Since the last time I've seen you, I've gotten a decent supply of modules at this point. I now have 2,000 of the Productivity 3 modules as well as 1,400 of the Speed 3 modules. So I'm hoping that those are enough modules in place to at least allow me to finish getting production of the rest of the fluids that will be used around the main base area, let alone saving up for our future projects. For those of you who missed last episode, let's do a quick recap. The first thing you'll notice is that we did a huge makeover of the bottom quadrants of the main circle base. We've got modules moved over up and to the left a little bit more, and we've got now a ton of new beaconed factories throughout the bottom quadrants. So we have everything from circuits to oil refineries to oil processing. We've got acid and sulfur, plastic over here. We've got more plastic over there. Blue circuits over here to the right, green circuits here where my mouse is, and then even more green circuits and iron gear wheels produced over here. So it's just a little bit of a hodgepodge of everything, all in some sort of Tetris puzzle-like fashion to fit everything in this limited, weird configuration of these quadrants that I have here. But in terms of fluids, all that I really got production so far has been petroleum, and the petroleum has primarily been going into plastic and then sulfuric acid. So we still have a couple more fluids left to even get going. In particular, we need to get some lubricant. The lubricant will be going into feeding electric engines and then some of the blue belt tech and other things around the supply depot. We're going to be needing to get some battery production up and running, which will be going into, I want to say, the accumulators and other things throughout the supply depot as well. Also, I'm hoping that we can even possibly get some light oil going in this area that will be building up into some solid fuel, and from there the solid fuel into rocket fuel. And that would be really nice to get because as of this moment, we're still only using coal to produce the fuel for our trains. So some rocket fuel would be a good upgrade, and from there we can even get the rocket fuel into nuclear fuel, which would be even better. So that's tentatively my plan. We've got these icons here around the lower quadrants to kind of delineate where I'm hoping that these fluid factories will be going, but we'll see. There's only one way to tell if we'll have enough room. But I think we're going to be starting with what I think is going to be the easiest part, and that will be production of the batteries and explosives in this area over here. So I guess that's enough talking for now. Let's go ahead and get actually to work. For batteries and explosives, my tentative plan is to borrow from the fluids already getting produced from this section over here. So for the sulfur, we're going to borrow from this chemical plant and feed it up to the new explosives chemical plant that we're going to place down. As far as the coal production, we're going to borrow it from this line that's already feeding into the plastic. And then for the sulfuric acid, we'll also just borrow straight off of the production line from here as well. I figure we're already kind of overproducing on a lot of these fluid containing products anyway, so it really shouldn't hurt blue circuits too much to borrow from these lines. So I think we need to think about where we're going to be placing our new chemical plants. I would, of course, like to keep it as aesthetically kind of congruent as possible with the current theme. So let me just take a tile here real quick, because this is the shape that I want to stick with, and figure out where we're going to be placing it. I might have to move some pipes around a little bit, but in terms of the explosives, I do need to think about having it fairly accessible or close by to the sulfur chemical plant over here. Now, I can't fit anything below it, but I certainly still could feed from it over here at the top. We can move these pipes around for the crude oil and the sulfuric acid, I think, without too much of any problem at all. So maybe I can just make it even and do... Ooh, actually, I really like that. We'll essentially make it as symmetrical as possible by putting one chemical plant there for the explosives, and we'll do... Oh, that's not even, is it? And then one here... Or is it even? Yes, it is. Never mind. I was lying. One here for the battery. just like that. I think that'll work perfectly as long as we can get the pipes where they need to go, which is always the tricky part because you can't mix them, of course. And I'm already running out of room, it looks like, for sulfuric acid to stay in the position it started at. Let's see. This will be the explosives chemical plant. This one will be the battery. So the big question, how do I get the sulfur all the way up here? Good question. Geez. I could move stuff around a little bit. Because my acid tank is over there, but I can move that. As long as this gets to the tank and either to this chemical plant or from the tank into the chemical plant, then we are good to go. The water we can easily move around. No problem. And then the sulfur, we can maybe squeeze another output or just change this setup here so it's only one line. That won't work. I need to go to the side. Ooh. That wasn't aligned anyway. Okay, I just did myself a favor. What we'll do is output the sulfur on the side like that. Oh, but I'm already running out of room. It's just a question of how do I get it over there? Or actually, over here, rather. I keep pointing over here, but it's here that I need it. This is the problem when you insist on working in tight little spaces like I do for some reason. I need it to like feed underneath or something. Okay, how can I do this? If only the beacons were up by a tile. I could go like that and have some belt braiding. And then we'll just move, you know, the side where the water is located. All right, so we've figured out how to get sulfur. Ooh, whoops. Oh, shoot. How do I... Hold on. This might have to go there. And then coal on the other line. All right, how do we get sulfur now here? It looks like we'll have to do 2 lines worth of output. So we'll do like that and like that. All right, that's not ideal, but it's also not a big deal to do it that way. Now let's fix the water input for the stuff there. Yep. In fact, I'm just going to copy this. We'll do that. Let's actually ask for a little bit of landfill to fill in this little area now. We'll copy this. I wish is there a way to copy? I think there is. Isn't there? Yes. All right, we'll do that. Land will go back in right there. And then water will trickle in this way. Where'd that pump go? There we go. All right, there's one water source now for the sulfuric acid here. Now we have to connect it up here somehow. Do I have any more room? Not really. Of course not. And then I may have to move this around a little bit. It looks, in fact, like that's a for sure deal. Squeeze that down. Squeeze that there. And hopefully what I'm doing is making sense to you guys. I know I'm not explaining everything so thoroughly, but this is essentially what happens when I'm winging it. I get definitely into thinking mode, and I get a little bit quiet. All right, so water. We're gonna have, gosh, can that go up one more? I kind of hate that, but that's fine. It works. That can now go down one, like so. All right. So sulfurs were kind of semi-working. It's not, oh, it's not getting enough water. We need to hook that back in like that. There we go. Now it's working. Now it's just lacking on petroleum, which it'll get eventually once plastic gets full. Okay, now we need an output for the sulfuric acid. Again, we need to get it into this tank somehow. We might need to get rid of this light. But how do I want to do it? Because I definitely can't have pipe braiding as much as I would like to. I might have to go up and over. The problem with that is that I then start to run into my cars, which would then get those off track. All right, let's be smart about this. I suppose that is a little bit better. Actually, no, it's not, because I still have the water coming in through there. Here we go. Here's how we do the problem solving. Just like that for water. Much better. We got rid of that weird pipe water loop. So there's water solved for explosives. Now we deal with acid, which again is coming from here. Ugh. It's right in the way. Here's what we do. We move this. Okay, there's crude oil now going into that input instead of this one. There we go. That goes there. Ugh. No. I'm stopped at every different pipe turn. How do I get the sulfuric acid over here? That is the big question of the day. Okay, hold on. I'm just not thinking like circuitous enough. Here we go. We're on to something now. Oh, no! That's not what I wanted. Ah! Okay, I need to get a tank. Get rid of these pipes. Or get rid of the fluid in the pipes. Or do I have a pump? Can I just borrow a pump real quick, please? Let me borrow you, pump. I apparently need to get rid of all of this fluid that I've accumulated. All 7.4 of it. There we go. All right, now will the pipe let me join? Yes. Phew. Jeez, it's gonna make me redo all of the pipes. That's so annoying. All right, whatever. That goes there, and that will do it for acid. And then we can easily combine that right there. Perfect. So that's acid taken care of. I wish I could, in fact, I might move the tank over a little bit so that we have it, you know, coming straight off of the chemical plant to begin with, but this is a good start. Now we have to worry about, let's see, we've got sulfur and water. Now we need to get it some coal, which is all the way over here. How do I get it coal? And this requires iron and copper plate. How am I going to get it? Iron and copper plate. Ooh. Iron and copper plate in my cars right here. Let's do some creative problem solving. Let's grab a stack filter inserter. We'll see if it can pull from it. I'm not sure. That might block the car too much. Let's move that over a tile. Perfect, actually. And, oh man, I can't pull more than one thing. Shoot. That's okay. We can go like this or something, or however that ends up being, so that it's half on one side, half on the other side. In fact, let's test it. We'll need some more wire here to add in an extra pause for sure. Okay, that works for that, although I think we're gonna need it on the other side. We might need it to pull like that. All right, we're gonna try that for now. It's a bit hideous, but hopefully it'll work. So the next time we have a car coming around, we'll be able to test it. We'll add in an extra pause there and there for now. And that's theoretically how we're gonna be getting our iron plate and copper plate into this thing here. And then also for now, I think we are gonna do a passive provider box just right there for the batteries. And then we can decide later whether we're going to have them delivered via car or bot down the line, but at least we'll have them, you know, getting produced in some fashion for now. Oh, but we do have a car coming around the corner. We'll be able to test this out in just a second here. We do still have to worry about how we're getting coal into the explosives chemical plant here. So coal, we can have it branch out again like so. Oop, is this gonna test? Okay, there's iron and there's copper. I guess that works. It didn't last very long though, did it? I could put in a box to help just buffer it a touch, but we'll worry about that later. We've technically got battery production, which is what's important. So that theory works. I think we've easily solved coal. And then we're going to do, again, another passive provider box for now for explosives. There we go. All right, explosives working, batteries working. I thought that was going to be the easy part. So if that was the easy part, oh goodness, I am not looking forward to the other parts, but let's keep moving on. We still have lube to do and solid fuel and rocket fuel to do. Now on to rocket fuel. I'm primarily going to be wanting light oil, which means I have to do advanced oil processing because simple processing or basic oil processing only produces petroleum. So automatically I'm going to be stuck with having to balance fluids and make sure I have to divvy up certain fluids to go into cracking. The problem with this is that I could convert or crack the heavy oil back into light oil, but then I'm going to end up with a surplus of petroleum because I essentially don't have anywhere for the petroleum to go apart from back into these pipelines here where it can feed into the chemical plants that need it for producing plastic, essentially, that goes into blue circuits and red circuits over here. So the question more is, can I fit all of the things I will need for the refinery and cracking, plus the assemblers that go into solid fuel in this little area over here? I don't 100% know, but I'm sure going to try. So let me make a copy of one of these tiles because we're going to need it for adding in a refinery for the advanced oil processing. Let's try to buy as much room as possible, but still keep it fairly symmetrical on the diagonal here between these two factory lines. Crude oil, I think, will be pretty easy to bring over. We'll just bring it over from one of those lines over here along with the water. The part I'm actually most concerned about, though, is that once we change this recipe, we have to get pipes that fit in here for the heavy oil and the light oil, and that will be the difficult part. So let's, I guess, get that out of the way and see what we can get done. Oh boy, I'm already kind of stumped. And then automatically, I cannot fit a straight pipe there. I could fit an underground pipe there, but then that means this space near here needs to be left open. But I was planning on filling these in with some sort of chemical plant configuration for cracking. So maybe I should copy one of those tiles straight off the bat so I know how much room I'm working with here. Oh, there we go. And the answer is I'm working with not a lot of room. Let's make this cracking of heavy into light. And actually, I wonder if I can just bring this over directly. That would be really convenient and might help me out a ton with this pipe spaghetti situation that I've got going on. So this will need water, which we can get from a little bit later, I think, much easier than we can worry about the spaghetti of the other pipes. So let's keep on spaghettiing the pipes. Light oil. I don't really have a good spot for that. I could snake this around even further like this. And have the water come in from somewhere over there as an example. That might work. In fact, does this leave me more room for... Ooh, not really. Crap. Well, that's about as big as I can make it for cracking. And then I do have a little bit of room in here for the assemblers to go into the solid fuel into rocket fuel. All right, so let's pretend water's coming from there. We can have, that won't work. We need to move this over like that. We'll put that back. That will go like that. There we go. All right, I'm liking this a little bit better already. Oh crap, although I just got rid of my room for the heavy oil. That's okay. We'll move the heavy oil like so. So it kind of loops around, unfortunately. We will need power, which I can fit a substation right there conveniently. And that won't work because we have to fit in water still. Shoot. There's just never enough room. But we can do a substation like that. All right, that'll work for now. I'm trying to imagine where everything's going. This is going to be... Heck, let's make it... solid fuel production. And I'm trying to keep in mind this does not have to be huge, and it really doesn't even have to be ratio perfect. This is more just to keep up with some sort of, even primitive solid fuel production would be fine, because this is really going to go into rocket fuel that's going to be supplying fuel for trains, essentially. So we do need an output, but we also need an input for the light oil. And I suppose I could add in another chemical plant. Oh, no, it won't fit. We could just have it not have an extra beacon there. I think that might be okay. But we could have another chemical plant that actually makes solid fuel out of petroleum, because we are going to have an excess. And even though that is really not ideal in terms of the ratios, it might be what I have to do. So let's keep this in mind as an option. So that means, how do we juggle where the pipes go? Ugh, my gosh. Why is this so hard? We can turn that around and that. But if I use one for petroleum, how does it get the petroleum now? I don't know. Let's start, I guess, with keeping it light oil. And we'll see if it can keep up with 2 chemical plants at a time. Oh crap, I am forgetting. We need the assembler. Okay, never mind. Let's instead put an assembler here for the rocket fuel. Like that. We'll get that in there. And how do I get it the solid fuel now? I just don't have enough room. Let's do an underground belt. And there we go. Now we need an output, which we'll just use as a passive provider box for now, since I don't really have anywhere for it to go quite yet. And we'll cap it off. I think they only stack in stacks of 10, so let's do a full row. And then I do need to get a RoboBay back in here somehow. There we go. We'll do it like that. Okay, so let's turn it on by adding in water. In fact, let's just, instead of worrying about getting water pipes all the way over here, let's just do it the cheaty way, which I think is fine in a scenario like this. This really doesn't change the game at all, apart from just improving my quality of life in this one scenario. But that's about as moddy or cheaty as I get with the game. Crude oil, on the other hand, we are actually going to physically bring over via a pipe from somewhere. We'll just extend this a touch, like so. And like so. So there's crude oil taken care of. Now we just need the water for the last bit. And we're gonna get a pump feeding. Whoop. I guess like that. All right, there's the water feeding there, but how do I get it over here now? I'm trying to get it to extend further if possible, but I don't think that's gonna work. Let's just add in another one of these little water pump thingies. We can fit that. Like that, sure. Okay, so this looks like it should work in theory. I have no idea how much this will actually produce. We still have to find an output for the petroleum, which, since I didn't end up using it going into solid fuel production, we'll have to get it literally back into the pipelines up here, but that's really not the end of the world. That will go there. So petroleum, we'll send you this away. Let's see if we can connect the petroleum. Just barely doesn't fit that way. Like this, maybe will be better. We'll move this over just a touch. No one has to know that it's not identical to the other tiles up above it. And there we go. Petroleum is now connected, and hence this is turning on. You can see the chemical plants are turning on. Here's the first bit of solid fuel production. Oh, but how come it just doesn't have enough light oil? Why? I just don't have enough heavy oil now? Oh, I am being dumb. This is connected to the wrong part. Shoot. All right, well that's working now, but now I don't have enough room for an output, except I do actually. Okay. Crisis averted. And yay, we actually have the first bit of production of rocket fuel. That only took 44 episodes to get that. That's amazing. Well, rocket fuel, we're going to check off our list as done for now. Hopefully the fluids will balance okay. We might have to add in a little bit of circuitry or combinators in the future, but for now I'm just going to let this run, build up. We can eventually get a requester box that gets the new rocket fuel supplying the centrifuges over here that will be converting that into nuclear fuel, but that does not have to be right this second. Instead, let's do the last bit of fluid production. In this case, it's going to be lube, which I'm going to try and fit somewhere in this section over here. Now onto lubricant. I'm a little nervous about this project because I'm really quickly running out of room in this quadrant over here, which is exactly where I was hoping to put the coal liquefaction factory that I plan on using, as well as the chemical plant that actually produces the lubricant. But we'll see what we could do. I think for starters, let's figure out where we're going to be placing the refinery that will be the coal liquefaction refinery. I don't think we can get away with having it fully beaconed with the 16 or so beacons around the entire thing, but I'll see what we can get away with. It might just have to be like a row around like half or like top and bottom of the refinery. But let's first of all get this symmetrical or at least centered or something like that. We do need to leave room for outputs, but if we put that there, let's see how much room that gives us if we were to therefore put beacons over here. Let's see, we'll have to get rid of that. But we can do something like that, perhaps. And get rid of that. And then extend it like that. And we can technically do it here on the sides as well. So that's a little bit more beacon coverage than I expected, which is not bad. Let's connect this in before I forget, like that. Now I plan on using coal liquefaction for the production of lubricant because I actually end up getting the most amount of heavy oil for the products coming out compared to either basic or advanced oil processing alone. So unfortunately, the problem with this is it doesn't take crude oil as an input. Instead, it also takes a little bit of heavy oil coming in addition to coal and steam. So my plan, because it also ends up producing light oil in addition to petroleum, is using the light oil to make solid fuel that will feed turbines that will produce the steam. And then we can recycle the petroleum back into the already pre-existing petroleum lines that feed into plastic and so on, just kind of like we did with the light oil setup for the rocket fuel. So the tricky part, like I keep saying, is how do we fit all of this stuff in such a small spot? So I guess let's grab some turbines and steam engines or whatever first. Oh gosh, I've got a lot there. 10 should do it. I don't think I have to have the steam engines. We'll try the turbines first, but we can swap those out if needed. We will need a couple boilers. And then I'm going to use a couple burner inserters, although we could use regular inserters as well. But let's start with this. I already feel like I'm running out of room. This won't work because we need inserters to feed into the boilers. I might only be able to have one. Crap. Okay, where did that boiler go? Maybe we put the boiler here. Like that. And the turbine there for the steam. We'll have the steam pipe snake around like that. So for solid fuel production, we do need a chemical plant and all sorts of stuff. Gosh, I don't know that I have enough room. I could maybe sneakily fit a chemical plant right there. That is just horrible. But let's see what we can get away with. I think we're getting solid fuel covered. We're going to do underground belts like that. We'll bring in a little water pump for the water there. And then that leaves the petroleum output and the heavy oil. The heavy oil, we're probably going to have to snake around a little bit because it does have to feed back into itself. And we can use some combinators and stuff to make that a little bit nicer. But there we go. And then the last output is the petroleum, which actually is going to be the easy part. Or so I thought. Just kidding. I'm worried that we're going to have to put a pipe there and then it's going to cause the car to get off track because the car is going to bounce off of it, maybe. But we'll see. But theoretically, all of the pipe inputs and outputs are installed. Let's put that there. Let's grab a... Whoop! That's way too big and not the thing I was looking for. We'll put the water there, like so. Okay, and that means, apart from installing the actual plant that will be making the lubricant, I do want to turn this on just to see if it theoretically works. So maybe we can just barrel up some heavy oil real quick. That would probably be easier than bringing over some pipes. And I do have some heavy oil. Ooh, not much of it though. Over here. Although I still have this factory up here. Although I don't really have any heavy oil there either. Dang it, it all keeps getting cracked. Okay, let's see if we can siphon up enough heavy oil just to get like a couple barrels. That's all I need. Like that. So I'm going to steal or borrow some heavy oil, and then I'll be back once we can turn on the coal liquefaction plant. Okay, I think I'm ready to turn the coal liquefaction plant on. I've got 3 heavy oil barrels. Hopefully that'll be enough. I've also got a little bit of solid fuel. I do not have steam though, so we kick off the steam by putting in the solid fuel here. So there we go. You can see it feeding into here, hopefully, soon. Maybe. It's not for some reason. I wonder if I need the steam engine instead. Let's request 1 steam engine, see if that makes a difference. And then the heavy oil, I do need a way to get rid of it or unbarrel it. We'll just plop that down. We'll do that recipe. There we go. All right, that went very quickly, but we do have enough. Oh, and then I forgot about, I do need to get it a way to get coal, which I was planning on pulling off of the cars here. It's still not processing the steam for some reason. Is that any better? Yes, okay, that works. So apparently you can't use a steam turbine, but you can use a steam engine. Good to know. I did not know that. And then we need a filter inserter to pull off the coal. I might need to use a couple long-handed inserters. Or actually, maybe I can use it like that. All right. It's kind of working. I could probably use a box to help buffer the coal a little bit. Ooh, that's a big swarm there. But yeah, I could probably use a box to help just give a better supply of coal into this thing, but it technically works. At this point, we can get rid of that. And then we can just add in a chemical plant that will actually be making the lubricant itself. And we can probably put that in this area right here. Or this here will give us a little bit more room for actually having it surrounded by beacons. I do like that idea. It's just more difficult bringing the pipes all the way around to it. Whoops, and these got off track somehow. Let's fix that. Okay, we'll worry about that later. So let's add this in here. We'll get rid of the miscellaneous inserters and boxes and stuff like that that we don't need. But this now becomes the lubricant chemical plant. Like so. So now how do we bring the heavy oil all the way over there? I don't think that will be too hard. Let's for sure use a pump. So the heavy oil will prioritize feeding back into itself. And then as long as there's enough left over, it'll feed into the chemical plant that we'll place all the way up there somehow with the pipes connected up. It might be easier to come in from this end. Oh, that won't work. We might have to snake it around a little bit, but that's okay. Gosh, these really got off track, didn't they? Almost done. There we go. There's the lubricant that can get produced, and either we can barrel it or we can have it just go straight into the pipes around here somewhere. Oh, here they are. In fact, I think that's what we'll do for now. Let's just connect it up. And then we can decide later on if we want to barrel it or not. And there we go. Very nice. We already have plenty of lube, more than we need, but I figured that would be the case because we're going to be using it so infrequently, at least in the supply depot. It's going to be a completely different story when we're going to end up needing it for, I think, yellow science later on. But for now, these fluids that we just worked on today are essentially just to keep the main base and supply depot and everything in it running and producing stuff for future use. How come plastic's not working though? I'm low on petroleum. Why am I low on petroleum? Good question. I must have disconnected something somewhere, which I very clearly did. It's these pipes here that are the culprit. Let's connect this back up before I forget. All right, there we go. Plastic fixed. So now that everything is fixed and all of the fluids are up and running, there's a couple things I'm sure I can tweak off camera, but that's what I will do in the meantime between now and episode 45. So thanks for sticking through this very long, somewhat tedious episode, but it's one of those things that had to be done. I'm hoping by next episode we can start moving on from this main circular base and onto some more broader base projects, like maybe getting a much larger rocket fuel factory in this section over here, or some sort of plastic factory, because we're going to have to start thinking about how we get factories supplying our science factories. So that's still to come, but in the meantime, thank you guys for joining me for episode 44. I hope to see you soon.